swelling. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
Dell Technologies is celebrating with anniversary savings on their most popular tech. For a limited time only, save on select next-gen PCs like the XPS 16, powered by Intel Core Ultra processors and more. Plus, curate your dream setup with great deals on select monitors, mice, and more must-have electronics and accessories. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to leading-edge technology to match your forward-thinking spirit and free shipping on everything. Again, that's Dell.com/deals.
The GCU men's basketball squad is coming off their winningest season in 35 years, their third trip to the NCAA tournament in 4 years, and their first ever NCAA tournament victory. Returning 4 of their 5 starters in Ray Harrison, Colin Moore, Duke Brennan, and reigning WAC Player of the Year, Tyon Grant Foster, the Lopes look to defend their WAC titles and make a run to the Sweet 16. With a non-conference slate, including Stanford, Georgia, and crosstown rival Arizona State, you won't want to miss a moment of the action. So join me, Michael Potter, and Lopes insider Paul Coro all season long, right here on the home of the Lopes, 1580 The Fanatic. Lopes up.
My pain is considerable, but that prescription is dangerous.
The side effects of my medicine are worse than my condition.
I'm in recovery. I can't take those pills.
When faced with a health crisis, you shouldn't have to choose between risks.
At the Naturopathic Physicians Group in Scottsdale, our medical doctors are experts in full spectrum care using a natural approach. Patients come in for a variety of issues, including joint pain, chronic conditions, and issues specific to men's and women's health. Our naturopathic doctors can restore pain-free joint function and restore balance in immune, digestive, and hormone systems, which often improves immediate physical symptoms without having you take a bunch of pills. If traditional medicines aren't working, don't you think it's time to start feeling like yourself again? Call Naturopathic Physicians Group at 480-451-6161. That's 480-451-6161. Or go to naturopathicgroup.com.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
We are back on a Friday and Valentine's Day edition, Dylan Cohen. Love is in the air, and you're going to love these bets we have for you today on this edition of Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic. I'm Phil Amara, and I'm in the control room, and I'm joined by our sports betting expert, our love expert over there, Dylan Cohen, here in the Harman Solar Studios in Scottsdale. On today's show, we're going to switch things up a bit and get into some NFL predictions. Yes, football is back, but it's for next season. The NBA All-Star Weekend is kicking off tonight, and we're going to get into that in segment 2 and let you know what bets to keep an eye out for. And in segment 3, we're going to look at some NBA futures markets now that we're entering the final stretch of the regular season, see if we can spot any opportunities to bet on there. But before we get started with everything, Dylan, who powers the show?
I guess that's what I get for telling you to spice up the intro a little bit.
Of course, the love machine, Dylan. You're gonna love it. Of course.
I appreciate it. We are powered by Edge Boost, and I talk about Edge Boost all the time. I'm sure you've probably heard the commercials that we're running for it by now. But if you are not aware, Edge Boost is the only bank account out there in America that is designed specifically for your sports betting, your daily fantasy site, and your casino transactions. So when you sign up for an Edge Boost bank account, you are going to get access to a digital Visa card that you can turn around and use to make deposits into daily fantasy site, sportsbook, or casino. You can visit edgeboost.bet to learn more and sign up. The sign up is very fast, very easy. We actually had the founder of Edge Boost on the show yesterday. His name is Senny Thomas. Awesome guy. Really gave us a lot of very good information about Edge Boost, about how it works. There's absolutely a dynamic to it that just feels a little too good to be true. And it makes you kind of skeptical to, take the leap of faith and see what it's all about. And if you happen to hear this interview yesterday with Senny, he really broke down how the cash back gets generated. And I don't want to go too into the weeds with this, but there is a literal exchanging of money that happens anytime you send money over to a sports book. When you utilize Visa as a payment processor, on the back end, you will have no visibility to this transaction whatsoever, but there is money being exchanged where the sports book is paying Visa for the service of moving your money over to the sports book so you can then wager with it. So this little micro transaction that happens behind the scenes, this is where the cash back gets generated from. And Senny went very thoroughly into this entire process. He explained how, this cash back that Edge Boost receives, they essentially pass it on to you for continuing to, make your deposits. And then, throughout the month, you can earn up to 0.5% cash back on the overall volume that you have deposited from your Edge Boost account into a sports book over the course of a month. So this is a totally legal bank account. This it was created in partnership with Visa. It is an FDIC insured bank account. There is tons of information on that Edge Boost website. So make sure you check it out. That website again is edgeboost.bet. And when you sign up, make sure that you use the promo code 1580 to take advantage of being able to start at a higher tier so you can earn even more cash back than you'd be able to if you did not use the promo code 1580. So now that we got that stuff out of the way, here on Beat the Book, there is a Beat the Book website where normally each day we are posting 10 individual bets that you can make in addition to a long shot parlay. Now, today's show is going to work a little bit differently because if you happen to check the Beat the Book site, you'll know that there was no new post today. Why is that? Well, we're in kind of a weird time right now with the NBA. The All-Star weekend actually starts today. We have the Rising Stars game on tonight. There's more events tomorrow and on Sunday. So there's no NBA slate of games for me to work with there. That's obviously my specialty. You move over to college basketball. There are some college basketball games happening today and tomorrow, but it's a lot less than what we've been working with over the last couple of months. And anytime I'm in a position where I just don't feel like I can put 10 solid bets on the table for you guys, I'm not going to force those kinds of things. I don't want to put out any kind of bad picks that's going to cost anyone. So these are the days where there's not going to be a Beat the Book post, but we'll still talk about some of the opportunities that are definitely out there for this weekend. We're going to break down the NBA All-Star Weekend events in segment 2 and let you know where there's going to be some opportunities to make some bets, try and beat the books over the weekend, make some money. There's obviously the All-Star game on Sunday. We're going to get into that as well. There's some dynamics that are at play that you need to be aware about when you're looking to bet on that. But to get things started here on the show, wanted to actually start off with some football. There was an interesting article that ESPN put out today where they did a roundtable of all of their NFL analysts, and they went through some early predictions for the upcoming NFL season. Now, obviously, the start of the next season is very far away. We haven't even had the NFL draft yet. A lot of things can change in between now and when the next season starts in the fall. So, take all this stuff with a grain of salt, but there's still an interesting conversation to be had. And Phil and I are going to go through some of these same questions that were in this ESPN article that got posted today. And we're going to give our takes on some of these different predictions that were made. So first and foremost, in this article, the first thing that everyone took a stab at was who is going to be the winner of Super Bowl 60. And for any one of these things that we go through, if there is a betting market attached to it, I'll make that connection for you guys. And, there could be some potential, betting advice here. But right now there is a betting market open for the Super Bowl 60 winner. We talked about this earlier in the week. The Eagles are currently the favorite. They're priced at 6-1. You've got the Chiefs and the Ravens right behind them at 6.5-1. You've got the Bills after that at 7.5-1. And then this is where there gets to be a bit more of a bigger division in the pricing. After the Bills, you have the Lions at 10-1. You've got the San Francisco 49ers at 13-1, the Green Bay Packers at 19-1, the Bengals at 21-1, the Commanders at 22-1, and the Texans at 31-1 odds to round out the top 10. Phil, I'm going to throw this over to you to start. Who is your pick to win next year's Super Bowl?
All right. Well, my pick to make it, because I think that we should do the matchup first. But either way, the matchup I see is the Baltimore Ravens I think that they finally burst through. I think that they've been perpetually at the door. First year with Derrick Henry. I think that this year that they can hopefully maximize that relationship between both of them and put it all together. Plus, the Ravens were running from a rough start in the beginning and then finally found their way middle of the way. I think that they'll make it, but I think that and the other side is so tricky. I think if you want to go chalk, I do think it is a fine bet. It is a solid bet to go with the San Francisco 49ers. Now, they very well, the San Francisco 49ers under the Kyle Shanahan regime have been very boom or bust. They either miss the playoffs completely or they gosh darn make the Super Bowl or come to the conference championship in very punishingly impressive fashion. So I think that that's a safe one. If you want my kind of softly out there opinion, I think if you look at the cap space, number 12 right now in available cap space is the New York Giants. And why that matters to me so much is that you've seen rumblings, you've seen a little bit of whispers that maybe if Matthew Stafford from the Los Angeles Rams comes back next year, it's not with the Rams, but it's with the New York Giants. And I know what you're saying. Maybe that doesn't make sense for this reason or to make a connection between him and his brother-in-law going as a quarterback's passing coach over the New York Giants. Maybe that's a bridge too far. But what I'm saying is if you're looking for the odds right now, they have ridiculous odds. I believe they're like plus 250 to 1 odds right now. And let me tell you, if Matthew Stafford goes there, if he goes there on a team that is very much in it to win it right now, the coaching staff is all in a 1 year. That's all they have. You got the right side of the ball. Coach Brian Daboll, former Coach of the Year award winner. I don't think he had much to work with Daniel Jones. He made the best he could and then was forced to make what he could do with Daniel Jones the following year. Listen, they got a great left tackle. They've got a great defensive line, as we saw with the Philadelphia Eagles. That is very important. You see that they have a stud wide receiver in Malik Neighbors. I think that there are more pieces there than not. And if you add Matthew Stafford with a very win now mentality front office, I just think from a pure value perspective, each and every year, who would have seen by this time last year the Washington Commanders making the NFC Championship last year? I think at bare minimum that they are just an undervalued team right now.
So hold on. So
my official pick is
I want to unpack that a little bit.
Yeah. Right now, my official pick is Baltimore Ravens over the San Francisco 49ers.
Okay.
But I think that if you want to get a little fun, I think that there is genuine value there. This is not a joke. I do have faith. I mean, obviously this is pre all the moves. So, don't hold me to this. If Matthew Stafford doesn't go there, obviously I don't enjoy them as much, but the New York Giants, there's some value there. There is a lot of value there.
So I have to say, I was absolutely not aware of even this being like a far-fetched notion that, he may go there. So as you were talking there, I just threw it into Google and then, I'm seeing some of these headlines come up, and New York Post has an article from an hour ago that is speaking about how the Rams organization is tired of Matthew Stafford and his wife Kelly kind of making their gripes with the organization known publicly.
Yeah.
And they both love, and maybe not so much Matthew, but I know his wife Kelly, she very has public. Absolutely no filter. She'll get on social media and talk about how she's feeling, and will not consider what the organization is going to think about it. So that is a very real thing. And then you mentioned his brother-in-law.
His brother-in-law just recently was added as a quarterback's passing coordinator. So some far off title that works directly with the quarterback. Brother-in-law, so that would of course be Kelly Stafford, his wife. And so he was added to the New York staff over there, and there's a connection there. And apparently there have been talks about what compensation like that would look like. I don't think that the odds have fully adjusted to that yet. So obviously this is a stab in the dark. And you know what? Again, those pieces are still there in the event that another quarterback goes there. Again, this is not a team that I think is going to look to draft. I think that they're going to look to address their quarterback in free agency, whether that be a Sam Darnold, whether that be even like a Jimmy Garoppolo, a ready-made quarterback to win now, because that coaching staff, that general managing office is all on a win now initiative. They need to win now in order to save their jobs. I always like that. And they have the right pieces, not the overall team, but they can address that with free agency, whether or not that is directly the quarterback or whether that is. I like them a heck of a lot more with Matthew Stafford. But anyways.
So, all right, my pick at this, I guess we'll start with the matchup. And I mean, when you're looking at the NFC, like there's a big part of me that does want to say Lions here, but I just think they have a very powerful curse, like as an organization. And one way or the other, something will go wrong for them, like at the absolute worst time. And that's pretty much what we saw from them this past season. They have one of the absolute best regular seasons they've ever had. And then, the wheels just fall off and you have all these injuries rack up and it just became too much to overcome. There's going to be some weird, unforeseen circumstance that will tank the Lions down the road. I even hate to speak that into existence, but it's just kind of the reality of that team. I do think the 49ers are absolutely poised to take a big step forward coming into this year, bringing back Robert Saleh, one of the absolute best things they could have done, just to, have everyone that's still on board there regroup, buy back into, trying to get back to where they were, just a year ago, being in the Super Bowl, barely losing. So I would say from the NFC, and this is the tough thing, I really like the Commanders. Like, I don't think that's nearly as far-fetched as a lot of other people do. Jaden Daniels is like universally considered like in the top 5 right now for MVP consideration going into next year. And that's something that we're going to get into next. But assuming Jaden Daniels can continue his same level of play or perhaps even improve it a little bit, with what kind of free agent moves, potential trades could be done over the offseason to really bolster that offense for the Commanders, I'm going to go with Washington making it out of the NFC. And then looking at the AFC, Patrick Mahomes, that performance, that kind of scarred me a little bit. I don't really hold the Chiefs as highly as I used to. I think after that Super Bowl, I think they're still going to be a very competitive team. I mean, you're absolutely going to be if Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback. But there's 2 other teams in the AFC that are just chomping at the bit to finally get past the Chiefs, make it to that big game. It's Baltimore, it's Buffalo. And I'm leaning more towards Buffalo than Baltimore. And it's just because Baltimore is another one of those teams kind of similar to Detroit, had a lot more postseason success than Detroit overall. But there's just like always something there that, call it a curse, call it just bad luck. I don't know what it is, but there's something that's just plaguing that team. And maybe, Buffalo's kind of been dealing with something similar, but the Chiefs have just never looked more vulnerable over the last 4 years than they do right now. So if it's just going to come down to either one of those 2 teams to, kind of muster up enough to overcome Kansas City, I'm going to go with Buffalo. And then if it's Buffalo and it's Washington, I'm going to take Buffalo as the Super Bowl winner there. But that's my pick. Let's kind of move through these more because, we're getting up to a break.
Certainly,
here.
Yeah. While you're navigating this, I will say my long shot in the AFC would be the Chargers. Chargers certainly have had to take their medicine this past year. This year was a cap casualty year, and I think that they can address a lot more of their team's needs in this offseason.
So let's jump over to this question here. What is one move that you want to see made this offseason?
I don't know if it's specific, but I certainly do want. There's rumblings that Myles Garrett won't get moved. Myles Garrett is the move that I want to see because that will certainly determine a lot of how I see a team. Now, if he goes to an Indianapolis Colts, I'll be honest, that doesn't really change my opinion of them that much. But if he goes to like an Atlanta Falcons, that does a lot for me. That does a lot for me there. If he goes to Dallas Cowboys, doesn't do much for me. If he goes to a Washington Commanders, certainly does a lot for me. So where Myles Garrett lands is a move I can't wait to see and see where he goes. And again, if he doesn't move at all, that also kind of doesn't do much for me. So Myles Garrett moving.
So for me, I would really like to see the Cardinals bring in Max Crosby. And that's something that there's been some rumors about that. This Cardinals defense definitely performed above expectations this year. They need to add some more pieces, particularly to that front line. Anything we can do to improve the pass rush, bring in another threat to line up next to Zaven Collins. And here's another one too. I mean, Dennis Gardeck is a free agent. I would love to see us bring Dennis Gardeck back as well. He's just been a very crucial component, someone that really worked their way up, from being like on the practice squad to being like an all pro. That's the kind of guy that, you want to keep within your organization as long as possible. So that would be my move there. Now, Phil, which team are you thinking is going to take a step back next season?
Oh, this feels like the easiest one. Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers have been staving this off year in, year out. Now, I will eat my shoe if they do indeed get a chance to trade for Trevor Lawrence. If they trade for Trevor Lawrence, then all bets are off. They finally have a franchise quarterback, at least for the foreseeable future. Maybe not prominent, but at least they have one. Right now, if they keep doing this, eventually they're going to roll the dice and roll, pocket snake eyes, whatever it is. They will eventually, the variance will catch up with them. It seems to never do so. Mike Tomlin, I have all the respect in the world for him, but eventually, as we saw last year, they fulfilled what needed to be done. Where in the beginning of the year, we saw, hey, they have a very soft schedule. Bank those wins in and make sure that you win the ones that you should. Second half is going to be a lot tougher. They indeed were, and they barely squeaked into the playoffs, one and done and out. So the Pittsburgh Steelers to me are the easy team to say, you're out, Bengals, you're in, or you're out. I don't know, Titans, you're a surprise team, you're in. So Pittsburgh Steelers.
I think for me, it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys. And
how can they take a step back? What you're going to say that they're going to go like down to two?
Yes. Okay. So
that's
last season, their record 7-10. I think it can get worse than this. I'm not impressed by Brian Schottenheimer. I don't think he really does anything to move the needle for you coaching wise. But now you've got Dak Prescott, who turns 32 in July, who has suffered a number of just like season ending injuries. And at some point, like, you just cannot continue to come back and overcome these things one by one. You have absolutely like no credible running back right now. You're going to look to maybe try and improve that out of the draft, but there's a number of other areas of concern on that roster. The O-line is not great. The defense got banged up last year. And you look at the rest of the conference, we know the New York Giants are probably going to get better over this offseason. We know the Washington Commanders are going to get better over this offseason. I don't see the Philadelphia Eagles really dropping off that much over this offseason. They've got a good thing going over there. So to be in that NFC East conference and then to have all the struggles that they had playing at home last season where they were chronically getting beaten by like 20 plus points, I just don't like the way that things are going for those Dallas Cowboys. I think they're in for a very long season next year. All right, last question here, Phil. Name one team, coach, or player who will break out in 2025.
Well, I would say probably the player to break out will probably be, and this might be cheating because he's done it before, but I would say Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert was working on the entire year he was writing on, I've only thrown 3 interceptions the entire year. And they ran J.K. Dobbins, that he's great comeback player of the year candidate. I think Justin Herbert, when they are able to address having more than just one slot possession catch receiver that is a rookie in Ladd McConkey, when they're able to get somebody, maybe it's T. Higgins, whoever it may be, get another option across the side of the ball, I think that he will be the one that will be the biggest beneficiary and become a breakout candidate.
I think for me, like the two names that kind of come up, I do believe Maserati Marvin Harrison is in line to take a big stride this upcoming season. The only part of that I don't like as much is that it's still very much contingent on Kyler Murray also being available, playing well. And that's like a really iffy thing to kind of tie your prospects to. I think for me, the single biggest person that is poised to really break out next year, it's Michael Penix Jr. I mean, this guy got a very, very soft introduction to being a quarterback in the NFL. He got to watch, Kirk Cousins go most of the season. Then he also got to actually get those reps himself over the last few games of the regular season. He's going to have a full offseason, full training camp to really kind of develop and build that chemistry with his teammates. And then, he's going to get his real first crack at having a full NFL season going into next year. And that's just a very unique way to be kind of brought in as a quarterback. And that's different than, just someone getting tossed out there in week 1 and, just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. So I think that path that he ended up taking to, ultimately be that starting quarterback for the Falcons, that's going to pay dividends for him as we get into next season. So we unfortunately have to get things moving along here. We are up against a break, but when we come back, we've got the NBA All-Star Weekend kicking off tonight. We're going to talk about some of the different events that are going on this weekend. There are betting markets on these, and there are some bets that we recommend. So make sure you stick around. You are listening to Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do
Let's play something, Grandma.
became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Spring forward with real unlimited data from Straight Talk this tax season and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. So you can stream games during Mad March hours, check the weather for April showers, and watch gardening videos about May flowers. Straight Talk, real unlimited data, available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 4/15/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires purchase of single line gold unlimited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Sun Devil men's and women's basketball are ready for a Big 12 showdown. Jihad at the left elbow bounces to Clayton. It's cutting on the left baseline for a slam dunk. Catch Sun Devil men's and women's basketball for a hoops doubleheader Saturday, February 15th, when the Sun Devil women play host to Utah at 2 p.m., followed by the Sun Devil men's basketball team at 6 p.m. when they take on the TCU Horned Frogs. Get your tickets today by calling 480-727-0000 or go online to sundeviltickets.com.
Multivitamins are your partners in health. Their nutrients are key to your daily well-being, especially if you're planning to become pregnant. A multivitamin rich in folic acid can help you have a healthier pregnancy and prevent birth defects. That's why the Arizona Department of Health Services is offering a free 3-month supply of daily vitamins with folic acid. To get your free vitamins, go to azdhs.gov/PowerMe-A2Z.
Sponsored by the Arizona Department of Health Services.
Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win, breakaway, pick six, three-point shot, underdog win, buzzer beater, shootout, walk-off, and absolutely every play in between is amazing. From football to basketball and hockey to baseball, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. 21 plus only, must be physically located in Arizona.
Download our free sports app and stay up with all the latest sports news, scores, highlights, and more. Or stream us live anywhere at 1580thefanatic.com. 1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic, Arizona's home for sports.
Welcome back. This is Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic. I am your host, Dylan Cohen. I've got Phil with me in the control room, and you, the listener, you are on the Fanatic text line, 888-368-1580. And we're going to get into some of the NBA All-Star events going on this weekend because, yes, there is an All-Star game on Sunday, but there's actually a lot more to the NBA All-Star weekend. There is the Rising Stars games that take place tonight. And then tomorrow we have the skills challenge, the 3-point contest, and the dunk contest as well. And these are all events that offer, bets. You can literally bet on who's going to win each of these individual events that are taking place throughout the weekend. And, a lot of people look at the stuff and they scoff at it. And it's like, why in the world would you ever, wager on these kinds of things? Believe it or not, like some of these events are a lot more predictable than you would think. And I'm going to point some things out as we go through some of these, but Phil and I are just going to kind of go through who's competing in each event and who we like and why. And we'll start off with the skills challenge. So the skills challenge takes place on Saturday night. And the skills challenge, the way that they do this, they put 2 players on a team. And like, for example, there's the Team Warriors. That's Draymond Green and Moses Moody. They are like the host team because the All-Star game is taking place in San Francisco. You've got Team Spurs. That's Chris Paul, Victor Wembanyama. You've got Team Cavs, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley. And then instead of putting another two guys on the same team as like one team for this, they went with like the top 2 picks in the draft and they called it Team Brooks. So you've got Zachary Risacher and Alex Sarr on the same team. And these are your 4 pairs that are competing in the Kia Skills Challenge. So what the Skills Challenge is, it's very basic. I mean, it's like a little kind of course that these guys have to, go up and down through. And, there's different little kind of mini obstacles that they, you have to bounce past a ball through like a moving target. You've got to dribble around some cones. It ends with, you having to like make a layup or like a 3. So, and the part about this that's a little difficult to speak to is that it's like every single year there's like little minor tweaks to the actual course. So we don't really know what it actually looks like until they're doing the broadcast, and everyone's in it. So it's the kind of thing where you can't really judge it, knowing specifically what these guys are going to ultimately have to compete through. You have to kind of just predict it based off what you've seen in the past. Now, there's one really big trend that I do want to point out specifically about the Skills Challenge. And to me, this is probably my favorite betting opportunity out of anything in the All-Star weekend. The Skills Challenge back in the day, and I'm talking like 4 years ago plus, it was not like a thing of pairs. It was an individual contest. And it was the same concept. You'd have a single person go through this course instead of like 2 people. And when it worked that way, this trend hadn't played about. Whoever won, there didn't really seem to be a rhyme or a reason to it. And then somewhere down the line, Adam Silver figured out that the All-Star game is better for the host city when we give them a win. And on the one hand, sometimes they'll go out of their way to award a spot on the All-Star team to a player that is on the host team's team, so that way they're represented. But another way that they can kind of give the local fan base a win is by essentially giving one of, the events like the Skills Challenge to the host team. And it's not something where I'm saying this is like crooked and they've already decided it. Like, these guys all still have to perform. Whether or not this is like scripted, I don't know. That's up to you to decide. But the one thing that I'm going to point out is for the last 3 straight years, the host team has won the Skills Challenge. So you go back to 2022, the All-Star game was in Cleveland, Team Cavs won. You go back to 2023, the All-Star game was in Utah, Team Jazz won. Last year, the All-Star game was in Indianapolis, Team Pacers won. So this year, we're in Golden State. You should absolutely bet on Team Golden State to win this.
Bless you, Dylan, because had you put a gun to my head and had me guess where the last 3 All-Star games even were, I could not have told you if you had given me like 15 guesses anyway. So, but no, that's actually a great stat. I don't think it would work in this particular year. I think that's a good stat, but where I do think that it will work is somewhere else. I think that the thought process is sound in that you're right. I think the NBA, if it had a preference, would be like, yeah, let's hopefully give somebody a chance to do this. I think that'll play out in another event that I have later. Right now, the odds-on favorite are Team Cavs, but Team Warriors aren't that far behind. Right now, Team Cavs is plus 200 on FanDuel, and Team Warriors is at plus 230 and ranked at number 3. So
and Team Warriors earlier this morning was 3-1. That's been slowly going down throughout the day as more and more people bet on it.
Right. So where I'm saying is like, I don't know that there's much value there, and as much as it seems to be a favored throw in the dart where you can at least kind of see the board, but you're not skilled at it. It doesn't seem entirely like it's something that you want to put an entire unit on. Maybe a little taste or something, and see if that's where you can find some value.
So outside of the Skills Challenge, let's move over to the 3-point contest because this is the other event where I would say the Skills Challenge and the 3-point contest have the most prominent betting markets right now. Dunk contest, you may not necessarily find odds on that with every single book. They may not come out until much closer to the start of the dunk contest tomorrow. The Rising Stars game tonight, that's another one where it's a little spotty where you're going to ultimately find odds on that. But the 3-point contest, like universally, everyone's got it. There is pricing on that right now. And when it comes to the odds, Damian Lillard is the odds-on favorite at 3-1. You've got Buddy Hield right after him at plus 490, Darius Garland at plus 550, Norman Powell plus 550, and then Cam Johnson, Tyler Hero, Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham round out the group. So in terms of who I think is going to win this event, and I think this is probably the one you were alluding to where, perhaps this is the one where Golden State gets its win. Buddy Hield, phenomenal 3-point shooter. He is someone that's literally won this contest before. He did it when he was a member of the Sacramento Kings. Damian Lillard is coming into this as the 2-time champ going for a 3-peat. And I have a very hard time betting against Damian Lillard like anytime he's in this contest. I think this is something he strangely takes a lot of pride in. And I think he's ultimately going to try. But I will say, like, there could be some serious dark horses in this one. Darius Garland is a sharpshooter. Tyler Hero, can get into the stretches where, the dude cannot miss. And to be honest, Jalen Brunson, I've watched that man come to the Footprint Center, drop 50 on us, and go 9 for 9 from 3. So, I mean, there are guys all over the place here who could ultimately win it. Damian Lillard is not the highest value play, but I think he ultimately has the highest likelihood to win it. That's hence why he's priced the way he is. My pick, the way I'm going to spend my money on this, is I'm going to bet on Damian Lillard. How do you feel, Phil?
You know what? I think that's true that you can, at plus 300 odds, especially if you feel like there is a favorite in this market and Damian at least takes it seriously, that certainly has some value. Maybe I think a way to maneuver around this is kind of have your cake and eat it too, where you place half a unit on Damian Lillard and then place another half a unit on whoever you think is next, which actually this is where I think your thought process is sound, Dylan, and then we can move into and use it here. I think Buddy Hield is great value for where he's at. He's our number 2. I think you place half a unit on Damian, you place half a unit on Buddy Hield, and just take the profits there. Because as much as I enjoy everybody else in here, Darius Garland is certainly a sharpshooter. There is a difference for players that can shoot off the rack versus can shoot, on a catch and shoot, and go in the tempo of an offense in the middle of a game. And while I can appreciate that Darius Garland is a sharpshooter, I don't think that having inexperience in this can certainly come in and be a factor here. I think that Damian Lillard and Buddy Hield are the 2 favorites for a reason. I think if anybody's going to kind of come in here and possibly surprise us, it could be somebody like Norman Powell, who's just completely
dropped over 40 points last night.
Exactly. I mean, stuff like this, you're looking, here's the secret. Across the All-Star format, you're always looking for who actually cares. And Norman Powell, this could be a shining moment for him. Cade Cunningham, he's already been a number 1 pick. He has much bigger fish to fry with the Detroit Pistons finally being over 500 for the first time in forever. There you have to look and see the motivations of people. Norman Powell's maybe I can be 6th man of the year. Maybe on my resume, it can be skills point, 3-point shooter. I wanted stopping Damian Lillard getting the 3-peat. Maybe this means something to him. And Buddy Hield, he's already won, so he's shown that it matters to him in that respect. You see that he has the experience previously. I would go half a unit on Damian Lillard, half a unit on Buddy Hield, and feel pretty darn confident. I mean, again, for as much as any of this can be just fun, there's no real analytics here to tell you that there's true value.
Well, and I do like that advice just because the absolute lowest payout in this is 3-1. So you could leverage half a unit, like you said. You can sprinkle that on multiple guys, and maybe you do Damian Lillard and someone at the very end of this, maybe a Jalen Brunson at 9.5-1. However you want to go about that, but because the absolute lowest payout is 3-1. You can split 1 unit up into 2 separate bets and still come out profitable. Exactly. So that's absolutely a very good play to consider on the 3-point contest. Now, the dunk contest, that is the final event on All-Star Saturday. This is going to be another one where it might be a little tricky to find some odds on this. I did see Desert Diamond, the sports book, they did already have some odds put out. And if you're not seeing anything right now on FanDuel or DraftKings, they will have a market on this. It just may not come out until a lot closer to when the event starts. I personally have an issue with the dunk contest because I feel like the NBA just doesn't take it seriously anymore. And then they just get upset at the public for not taking it seriously when they don't take it seriously. And when you prop up a guy like Mac McClung, the way that they have the last 2 years, who, for all intents and purposes, is not in the NBA. I mean, he has a 2-way contract. He technically has a roster spot, but the man does not play any consistent minutes in the NBA. He doesn't have a meaningful role in the NBA. His role is to like hang out in the G League until February rolls around. Then he gets bumped up because he's on a 2-way contract. They have him show up in a couple of games. He, rides the bench and then comes in during the garbage time. And then that's enough for them to be like, yep, Mac McClung, he's in the league. He's NBA. He's qualified. He can be in this dunk contest. And then Mac McClung in the dunk contest, like, yeah, I mean, the guy's athletic. He's explosive. He can do some really nice dunks, but you're just kind of getting away from the spirit of what the dunk contest used to be. It would be all guys that are actual NBA players, are guys that have meaningful roles in the league, whether they're rookies and, they're just kind of cutting their way into the lineup, or whether they're more established guys. It's really unfortunate. And the league acts like they're trying to make it better and they're trying to prop it back up. And then they just kind of keep doing the same thing, and they keep inviting Mac McClung back. And anytime he's going to be in the contest, he's probably going to win. Like, his dunks will be entertaining, but as a whole, that product just suffers. But yeah, Mac McClung, when I saw it on Desert Diamond, he was like minus 167. The smart money I would put on Mac McClung. It's not even a pricing thing at that point. It's just like, this dude plays basketball to dunk, and the other guys play basketball to like be good basketball players and help their teams win. That's kind of like the difference there. Do you see it differently?
I honestly, this is one where, yes, you're probably right. If I'm forced to make a bet, I would go McClung. I don't want to bet this. Right. I really don't, because there's no. What you're hoping for is that somebody like Mac McClung, who has a lot of time to think about this, can somehow compete with Stephon Castle, who's coming in after actually having meaningful minutes and actually having other things to consider and think about, rather than, oh, what prop can I use? Whatever. Like, very rarely, when people were on equal ground and you're having Dwight Howard facing Blake Griffin, facing, run-of-the-mill stars, who all had the same amount of prep time, who all had the same amount of time to think about it, as opposed to a guy who, this is what he does. I don't, this isn't really anything. If you're betting on this, degeneracy is following you, my friend. Do not bet on this. I at least can find some research and stats to back up the 3-point shooting contest and the skills contest and stuff like that. Dunk contest, you're really beholden to scorers who are being subjective, who can try and be funny themselves and stuff. This is the one that I do not want to touch.
I would totally second all of that. It used to be a little bit different. If we kept getting more, Aaron Gordon versus Zach LaVine type contest,
something like that. Yeah, Jaren Jackson Jr.
or like even if one of the Thompson twins, if you can get one of them in it, I mean, that would have been box office. But unfortunately, it's just another disappointing, rendition of the dunk contest. That's what we're working with this year. So just is what it is. We actually are up against another break here, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the actual All-Star game itself. We're going to give our thoughts on who we think is going to win. The All-Star game is doing a totally different format for this year to try and incentivize these guys to actually try. And, in the past, they've thrown money at them. That's not a good motivator. So now they're bringing in the threat of potentially getting shown up by the rookies. And I think it's a brilliant move. I really hope it works out. We're going to talk about it more after the break. You're listening to Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Make extra money daily from your sports betting? Dylan Cohen from Beat the Book here. I'm always about finding ways to take sports betting to the next level. And that's exactly why I'm pumped to tell you about Edge Boost, the financial platform that pays you cash back to wager. Edge Boost is an online bank account that pays you for every deposit. With the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all of your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. That's free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're already doing. It's a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with a $250,000 daily limit, and it will never be declined for gambling activity. They've got built-in tools to help you stay responsible, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. So stop leaving money on the table. Visit edgeboost.bet to learn more and sign up today. That's edgeboost.bet. Once again, edgeboost.bet.
Everybody's got a podcast these days. Comedy, politics, true crime, you name it. But how many actually teach you anything useful? Harman Solar has an entertaining podcast that is vital if you've been thinking about looking into solar, but you don't know where to start. Ralph and Ben explore the intricacies of utilities, equipment, processes, and more. Their primary objective is to educate and empower you to make informed decisions on your solar journey. So increase your knowledge, not your bills. Go check it out right now. It's the Harman Solar Podcast at harmansolar.com. Hungry for something exciting? Then come experience what's new at Kasai Japanese Steakhouse with 2 Valley locations. No one does Asian-inspired cuisine better or more authentic than Kasai, where talented Teppan chefs create the food, the fire, and the fun of teppanyaki. Kasai Japanese Steakhouse, it isn't just dinner, it's dinnertainment. A memorable dining experience where a delicious 7-course meal is prepared right at your table with flair. It's the perfect choice for celebrations, date nights, or a night on the town. Choose from over 30 different items and combinations of teppanyaki, Asian fusion, and innovative sushi. Happy hour is always on fire with their daily specials. Try their new $12 bar menu items, Wagyu beef and Mongolian pork sliders, chicken or beef satay, and 3 delicious flavors of chicken karaage. 2025 is on fire at Kasai with 2 locations, Scottsdale Road and Thunderbird, and now open in Peoria at the 101 in Northern. Go to KasaiTeppan.com. That's KASAI Teppan.com or search Kasai on your mobile phone.
Progressive presents Renter's MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Tom Kelly's carbon fiber mountain bike. Because more than riding his carbon fiber mountain bike, Tom loves telling people about his carbon fiber mountain bike. Friends, family, even a local barista knows about his carbon fiber mountain bike. And that's why Tom's carbon fiber mountain bike, if you haven't heard about it, is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
1580 The Fanatic. And at 1580thefanatic.com. Your home for sports.
You're listening to Beat the Book on 1580 The Fanatic, and we've been talking about the NBA All-Star events that are taking place on Saturday night. We're going to move over now to the actual All-Star game that's happening this coming Sunday. There are betting markets out for the games. You can pick the winners of the games that are going on. You can pick the MVP. The biggest thing you have to keep in mind is that the format this year totally different than what they've done in the past. What we've seen in the most recent years is, 2 of these guys get picked as captains. They draft their own teams, like, you're playing, pickup or something like that. In this case, what they've done is they've combined kind of the players from the East and West into a pool. And then they had the analysts from TNT. You have Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and Charles Barkley, each serving as general managers that then drafted teams from the pool of all-star players. And then there is a 4th team that is involved in this, and that is being managed by Candace Parker. And that team is going to be whichever team that wins tonight in the Rising Stars Challenge. They will get the opportunity to participate in the actual all-star game on Sunday. So when you take a look at these teams that Shaq drafted, that Kenny Smith drafted, that Charles Barkley drafted, like, they all kind of carry a different theme, which I do actually appreciate about this. I'm not sure how intentional that was or if that was just kind of coincidence. But the roster that Shaq ended up drafting, he's got Jaylen Brown, he's got Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, James Harden, LeBron, and Jason Tatum. Then you've got Kenny's team. He calls it the Young Stars. He's got Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, Darius Garland, Tyler Hero, Jaren Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley, and Jalen Williams. And then you've got Chuck's team, which is Chuck's Global Stars. So kind of more international guys on here. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, Alperen Şengün, Donovan Mitchell, Pascal Siakam, Karl Anthony Towns, Victor Wembanyama, and Trae Young. So just kind of looking at these 3 teams here, and keep in mind, they're doing this format because the All-Star game has a problem. I mean, they just cannot get these guys to compete in the ways that guys used to compete in the All-Star game. And it's just been so prevalent and it's been going on for so long that it's kind of developed into its own culture that's just like infested throughout the league. Pretty much no one tries in the All-Star game. I think most years it's kind of like an 80-20 split. 80% of the guys out there, they don't care. They're just glad to get kind of the recognition of being an all-star, and they just want to get through their weekend and enjoy their break in the season. And then 20% of the guys that are there, like, no, I'm actually here to compete. I want to try and win the All-Star MVP. Just try and make some noise. So right off the bat, just looking at these three teams, looking at who is kind of on each team and trying to forecast, like, who are these guys that do not care? And ironically, I think a lot of them ended up on Shaq's team, and Shaq's team is called the OGs. And ironically, it is going to be that older guard of the league that is the one that has, just had to deal with that culture of like not really trying in any of these all-star games. A guy like Kevin Durant, a guy like LeBron James, I think all-star games are fun for them. They've each been to like 17 plus at this point. That's like a very large amount of all-star games to have gone through and participated in. And to like muster up the motivation at this point in the season to like really go all out, potentially risk any injury to yourself. Your teams are depending on you still. There's just not a whole lot in it for them. The amount of money that they get from potentially winning the All-Star game, it's pennies to LeBron and Kevin Durant. Those guys have made a ton of money in their career. James Harden, that's another guy where like you've seen so many of these things. The fact that you made it, great, but there's just not a whole lot in it for you. Now, Steph Curry, he's like the one guy representing, the host city. So perhaps he feels some responsibility to really give it a go. But at the same time, the way that Steph Curry like makes his impact known is if his threes are falling. So he could be trying, he could be out there shooting them, but if those things aren't falling, that team is not going to win its games. Then you got Damian Lillard, who I think his motivation is the 3-point contest. I don't think all-star games do a whole lot for him at this point. So then it just boils down to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And there could be some weird motivation for Jason Tatum because it's Golden State, because of what happened between him and Steve Kerr during the Olympics. Like maybe Jason Tatum feels strangely motivated to like try because it's in front of all the Golden State fans, because Steve Kerr is going to be there. Who knows? I would not put my money on the OGs. Kenny's young stars could be a threat. I think these guys could be hungry. There's a number of people here that have never made an all-star game before. Jalen Williams, Tyler Hero, typically guys in that position. They're hungry. Cade Cunningham, that's another one. And Jalen Brunson too. So, I mean, you do have the guys that are young and hungry on here. But my only concern on Kenny's team is that he doesn't have like a whole lot of size. His biggest players are Jaren Jackson Jr. and Evan Mobley, who are traditionally power forwards. They're not centers. You take a look at Chuck's global stars. Chuck like hoarded all of the centers. He got Jokic. He actually got Giannis, but then Giannis, is injured. He's not playing, but he's got Karl Anthony Towns. He's got Şengün. He's got Victor Wembanyama. And then he does still have guards in here. Trae Young, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Donovan Mitchell. Pascal Siakam is a very serviceable forward. Chuck's global stars can put together the most well-rounded roster, in my opinion. And that's the one that I think has a balance of hungry first-time all-stars, established players that still have something to gain by trying. This is the team that I like the most to ultimately win the All-Star game.
Yes, Dylan. Yeah, baby. We are
same page.
Simpatico. This is the thing. This is the event that I want to lay down a full unit on, baby, because here's why. You always look perennially for who is the all-star MVP in the games. Now, I get it. This is a new format, so we're entering uncharted territory, yada, yada, yada. But the theme, I think, matters most here. You look at past all-star winners, and you're seeing like Russell Westbrook when he was trying to prove something. You're looking at Damian Lillard last year when he's trying to prove something. And so, and then you're also looking at Kyrie Irving back when he's younger. So you're looking for usually a guy entering his prime, trying to prove something. Who fits that bill best of all this year? That's not going to get any MVP votes based off of anything. That's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I get him on a team, and I get him on the most well-rounded team. Now, I'll tell you, the one that actually really scares me about this is Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic does not he doesn't play well in an all-star game format because what he does is you build a team around him and then they understand, and then plus he understands the whole offensive scheme, and he
won't run an all-star game.
He can't run an all-star game. He's not pure talent physically. So that he's the one who scares me the most. That you'll have him blogging up. He's not a defensive-minded center, but you have other players that you can swap him around with, whether that be Karl Anthony Towns, Sengun, of course, and then of course Wembanyama as defense. Should you need them in the background if they actually play, I think Wembanyama can play defense even without actually trying. So I get this team, Chuck, that doesn't get bogged down by age and actually could possibly care with the person that I think will be the MVP matched up against the only team that I think in the beginning can possibly take him down, which would be Team Kenny. Sorry, I had off the young guns. And then they get either the old guards who won't care by that point. My God. A whole unit, Dylan. A whole unit.
So it's paying 2-1 right now on FanDuel. I would count on Team Chuck. However, there might be something in it for you if you sprinkle just a little bit on Team Candace, because the crux of why they're doing this format is because they think that there's a chance that the rookies are going to be more motivated than the All-Stars. And we might actually see that. Team Candace paying 9-1 right now. Maybe sprinkle a little tiny bit on Team Candace, but put most of it on Team Chuck. That's all I got, Phil.
Yes, we are in complete agreement. And that's going to do it for us here on Beat the Book. That's Dylan Cohen. I'm Phil Bammer. Thank you so much for tuning in. Coming up next, it's the Daily Blender with Jeffrey O'Brien and Randy White.